the fuck away from my car. I took that video down. I wasn't gonna actually cap a pop in him. I might have capped him in his buttocks or something, but not unless he reached in my car. Dude, you can't see that. Is it really? Let me go back here and listen. Can I do a... Yeah, I can reverse on the... hold on. Let me listen to the track. I don't know. It doesn't sound that bad. Is that better? Fishman. What's up, Daniel? Does that sound better? If I turn it down? Turn me down? By the way, just for Guitar Hack, I'm wearing my Kiss shirt. Ah, damn it! I do that every time. I'm sorry. I'm wearing my Kiss shirt. That's interesting. Sure, there's plenty of drum loops on the YouTube. Triple hot mess. No double hot, triple hot. Wow, that's a lot of delay there. Let me get some Zeppelin in here before Steve comes on. Ah, shit, there he is. What's up, bro? I was just playing some Bad Company.
Yeah, you were not. You're playing bad music is what you're doing. Yeah, so I got the little ping from YouTube that you were going live.
Ah!
And so I just tuned in and you started playing. And I was on Ted's thing. We were chatting in StreamYard. And so you started and I went, that's a great mix. And then you instantly leant over and went crank. And it was like, oh,
that's because I couldn't hear it when it first.
Yeah. And you know what? I think it's the hosting and presenting the backing track through StreamYard. Yeah. Because.
Well, what about after you said that and I turned down? Did it was any better?
I didn't have the audio on because I was trying to get the link and.
Hold on just a second. Listen to this.
I'm listening.
Oh, now it's starting all over. Let me turn the wall on.
Yeah, hang on. I got it. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's not bad, dude. So how's that compared to what you were playing?
I would really like to hear my guitar a tad bit louder.
Yeah.
But it could actually, I could go down a little bit actually even.
Mm-hmm. It's that what you've got there is sitting quite nice in the mix. It has to be said. So.
Okay. I'll even turn down.
You maybe even should make a note of that. We should probably do this. We should probably do a session, like a private session, where you host it and I host it, and we set the levels.
Well, then,
grown up.
I'm putting. Does it? I know you always say it helps when I do that.
Oh,
immensely. My main output knob on the MX5 is that rotary, so I wouldn't really. And it's so like.
Oh, and it doesn't have numbers or anything on it.
No. Well, it does, but it's like
you would probably have to put a little stripe on the top of white out or something.
Little tape and yeah, old school it and
yeah.
Basically, I got to remember when I'm hosting, I just need to remember that I'd really like to be a bit louder in my mix, and that should be fine.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and see the reason why I'm wondering about this is because, Dan Anderson, right? You know who he is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, just recently I noticed that he has been much louder over his backing tracks than he usually is.
Really?
And I'm wondering if he's now doing the same thing.
Yeah.
If he's presenting the tracks through StreamYard.
Well, the good news is StreamYard when I pull it up, it's posting me a notice that I'm about to run out of my free minutes. So,
Oh, so we don't have to worry about it.
so you don't have to worry about it.
Mind
Uh,
you,
but-
isn't it the first day of the month today? Like, shouldn't you?
yeah,
know?
but it's whenever I started it. So I don't, maybe a couple of days or whatever. So
Well, it's okay. My one doesn't run out of minutes, so we can
I got to stop doing pop-ups whenever I feel like it.
every 5 minutes. Yeah.
Dude, guess what I saw today? An ADA MP1. I mean,
Nice.
not live, but Ben Coombs was doing a live stream with JJ.
Do you want me to go get the one I've got?
Fuck, you got one, of course you. You had the MC1 foot controller too?
I've got three. I've got three of them.
Oh shit, of course you did.
That's my favorite MIDI controller. I
Dude,
love the fact that it's 10 buttons in a row.
I think I sent you that picture of that rack that I had, and then I had like the boogie rack, but
Yep.
the MP1, which had to have a Hush 2C, had to. I had a Randall stereo power amp, little one spacer, which was like, gave me volume. I didn't have $1,800 for a Simulclass 290.
Well, I used to use Kitty Hawk 60 watt aside 2 power amps, PV Classic 5050s,
Yep.
PV Decca 528s.
God, that's old.
Yeah, about 12 pounds in a single space and 500
Yeah.
watts.
Wow.
And then, speaking of old, I had 3 H&H V500s.
I've never even seen those damn things. They're like 4 rack spacers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
weigh as much as a Buick.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, kind of like those old PVCSs kind of thing.
Yeah, but those things,
They're bomb-proof.
they're full of mud
bomb-proof.
and dirt, and clubs I played had them, and they just full blast night after night.
Mhm.
PV made this shit back in the
Yeah.
day, man.
Well, see, Edward Van Halen,
Oh.
he used to use an H&H V800. That
Yeah,
was his.
I remember seeing those.
That was the
back.
power amp that he used to slave from his Marshall head to power all the cabs on stage.
Right.
So I felt like I was in good company with those. No. So yeah, I mean, I did an outdoor festival once. We're running 8 4x12s and all those power amps. I was running 2K.
Let me pin a comment if somebody wants to.
Which one?
I see Mitch in there.
Yeah. Hey man.
No, I think I told you the story. The music store I went to, the guy in his rack, he had a boogie stuff, PMC 41. He had a TC 2290, and I've only seen pictures of those things.
Right.
I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah. Nah, a buddy of mine had an even tied H3000. You know.
Yeah.
I never did because the reason why the Rockstars always had 2 of those things was because it could take up to a minute to patch change.
Oh my god.
So what they did was they would switch between the 2,
Oh yeah.
right? So
Wow.
yeah, like phenomenal units, but not like good on the fly, if you know what I mean. In the studio, great. It didn't matter how long it took to load the program kind
Right.
of thing. But yeah, it'd take them up to a minute to patch change.
When my head blew up that one time, luckily, because I didn't bring a backup amp, dummy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks, Johnny. Glad you like it. Our effects rack had an SPX 50D, which the
Okay.
D stood for distortion, right? So he brings that thing up. We run it through, mic the monitor, a 12-inch PV monitor. It was bad. But you would have to push one button, and then the unit would ask you, are you sure you'd like to change programs? Yes, damn it. I'm trying to play Hootie and the Blowfish, damn it.
Yeah. And I need it now, not
Oh, wow, yeah. And it was still 3 seconds,
yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, yeah, when people complain about like patch changing latency and stuff now, I'm like, oh, you have no idea.
That's what
No idea at all.
I used, let me see, my SDE 1000, I didn't MIDI that up. I had, the MP1 had a Rocktron and Teleflex,
Mm-hmm.
and both of those were lightning fast. And I had the delay, the Roland on the outside, so kind of had to hit it just a split second before you wanted to change it, but it was pretty damn fast.
Well, my rack got ridiculous. It did get refrigerator size, and I used to use 228 patch MIDI mapping pedal boards with it. So one was switching the main patches of the rack, so it was switching between clean and dirty, like switching between the different preamps and what have you. And then the other MIDI board was purely to preset the keys of the harmonizers, because I had two harmonizers in there. So, yeah.
I didn't use it live, but I think it was the DOD. Part of it was 2 spaces, and then the readout was like another separate 1 space.
Right.
I had one of those, which I liked the way it sounded, but it's not like I could fit it into some Bad Company or, whatever we were doing, some Skinner or whatever back then. But
yeah, no, I mean, I was running, God, I mean, there was a German company called Vintage Amp. That was their actual name. And that was the first rack stuff I started getting into. And it was cool. It was solid state, but a good sounding preamp, kind of like the Marshall Valve State kind of tone.
yeah,
And what was cool was they did modular powered 1x12 cabs.
oh wow,
So like you could have 1 or 4, or it didn't matter. They all daisy chained. So you could have an absolute wall of these 1x12 cabs if you wanted. So I could just take as many cabs as I wanted for the size of the venue, or size of the stage or whatever. That was the first rack stuff I got into, and then I got into Kitty Hawk. So I had the Quattro preamp and all the MIDI patch Bayette, loop switches and all that sort of stuff, and the stereo tube power amps, and so it went on. I had the 4x12s I had were ones that they had made specially for Key Marcello, and then his endorsement came to an end, so they got them back and gave them to me.
oh cool.
They made 8 of these 4x12s out of Paduke.
Which is like extremely heavy.
Yeah, it's the wood they make Warwick Thumb basses out of.
Yeah, right.
And it was like, inch thick. Like it was, these were solid cabs. And because they were so solid, like they didn't flex, they had a tendency to spit the speaker cables out if you played really
Oh
loud.
yeah, you told me that.
So they advised you to, drill an inch hole in the back panel somewhere.
Little port.
Yeah, I just cut one of the corners off so that it could just breathe a little. So
No, I had a God, what was, I don't know what it was. It was my first half stack was I didn't know what I was getting. I just walked in and there was a half stack. And, okay, 2-channel Randall solid state. It was horrible. But I also bought the SDE 1000 and the Furman PQ3. And I kept that after I sold the Randall stuff. I got the MP1. I kept that stuff, and I think the PQ3 was kind of, it hit the front of the MP1 a little bit, right?
Yep.
But yeah, you had to have a Hush 2C. I had a Pro Q,
Right.
which I didn't do a lot with that. It's like, it's just too much, like, fuck.
Yep.
Just the rabbit hole of EQing.
Yep.
And then I went to I sold the MP1, got that damn 9050, man. I love that little thing.
Yeah.
Especially with the bomb effect.
Oh yeah. Oh no, that was the beauty of Zoom, was they made ridiculous effects patches.
Remember the Who's Zooming?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I heard somebody's doing you could probably get it in the MX5. That the little step thing that was really
the
cool.
step
Yeah,
filters.
yeah.
Well, they before the 9030s and 9050s, they had the 9002s.
The tube.
No, the little like diver's watch processor that could literally clip onto your strap.
Oh God. Oh yeah, yeah.
Guess who's still got 2 of those?
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I had the because I needed something kind of dressing room warm up. So Zoom made this little. It was yellow, about the size of a shoe, and it lifted up a little speaker. It was horrible.
Oh, I know. It looked like a Star Trek communicator and sounded just as good.
And I thought, fuck, it's Zoom, man. It's got to have some decent distortion,
No, it's garbage.
And it's garbage.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the one that didn't work.
And I tried the little. It was about that big. The Korg made a unit.
Yeah,
you know,
the
that
Pandora.
was yeah. With some better distortion, that thing would have been awesome.
Yeah.
I just needed more George Lynch game kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
but the MP1, man. And then they came out with the MP2 and killed the company. What?
No,
It does-
I still have one of my MP1s, and God, I still have the ADA cab thing as well.
I didn't like those two. Well, by then I had those Boogie Road Ready cabs. They don't make any more of that. My buddy ordered them.
Well, I'm not talking about those split cabs that they did.
Oh, the 220. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the one rack unit cab emulator thing.
Oh. That was. It changed your tone. That's for
It was
sure.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've still got my.
It was better than the MP2.
Yeah, I've still got the Rocktron Alan Holdsworth juice extractor.
Yeah.
That's a clever piece of gear.
What is that thing, by the way? A
So
compressor?
it's a load box, so you can put up to 100-watt tube head into it, and it's basically got the hush and some shelving EQs kind of thing, so you can tone shape it a bit. And then the beauty of it is it takes that 100-watt output and turns it into 6 line level outputs.
Oh,
So you can run a 100-watt head flat out
yeah.
and run it through 6 different effects chains if you want to.
Wow.
Yeah. I still have that.
Yeah, I tried. Well, I think the best wireless back in my day was the Navy 1200. Dude,
Yeah,
I couldn't.
they added a little compression, but it was nice compression.
Yeah, I couldn't. The last time I was using a Samson something, and
Yeah.
I sent the transmitter back and have them make me a 2 level up transmitter because I thought it'd be better.
Right.
And it was okay. I could deal with it. I wasn't jumping up and down. But as soon as our park cans came on, that was it. I could not get, no matter where I plugged the lights in or, and that was it. And then I just couldn't stand the feel of a wireless. It's like a tube amp. I don't care what you say. You love your wireless. That's fine. It's just me.
Yeah.
It's like having to go from a heavy pick, like my H3s, to a thin pick. I can't stand it.
Like
Well, you picked a rock up off the side of the road, and there you go.
Yeah, I only use thin picks too. Yeah.
Yeah. This is I think a 1.14. I know you're
It's purple, right?
you're like when you turn sideways, you can't even see it.
Yeah. Let it go.
But it's nice and
No, it isn't.
But even when I'm
I used to
picking,
use the purple ones of those. They're 2 mil.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But even when I'm playing, no matter what I'm playing, I have that much pick sticking
Yep,
out. I
exactly.
mean, bare. So like pitch harmonic, that's just the way I. Wait, hold on. Good question.
There's the camera. Where is it? There. Yeah.
What's the best tube amp you guys stood in front of and played?
I'm gonna just say, in terms of the one that works for me, is my 50-watt Laneys. They're lovely.
Best tone I ever had wasn't my rig. It was a Tom Anderson drop top, and
Have you got yours yet?
I just checked. It's not on the porch.
Shit.
A Boogie Tri-Axis
Yeah.
with a Hush 2C, PCM 41, and a Sama Class 290 through 2412s in the store I was working at, so I could crank it.
Nice.
And playing, I was like, dude, I am not this good.
Yeah.
I am not this good. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
But that Crate Blue Voodoo through 2412s, when you get it up to about 8, almost 8.5, people don't understand when you're really pushing that power section. It just started to roar, but in such a good way. And I don't know if I just got a good amp or,
Yep.
You know, the resistors were the right value. But 100 watts, it's just too fucking loud.
Well,
I
that
don't
was
know.
the thing when in early '95 when I went to get my Laney GH, I initially plugged into the 100-watt version, and I seriously could not get far enough away from it in the store.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it was an absolute monster, and like I say, when I had the pleasure to be involved with when Paul Gilbert came over to do clinics, he was running the 100-watt heads, but he had pulled two of the tubes. He was running them as
Ah,
50s.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that was basically his reaction was like, yeah, it's just too much.
Now
You
remember
know?
when 100-watt heads came out, it was when they didn't mic amps on stage, right?
No,
They
no,
needed to get loud enough, multiple 412s on stage
yeah, to be
for
able
the
to be
crowd
heard.
to hear them over the
Yeah.
PA,
Well,
which was just vocals, right?
and the thing with the Laney GHs is they have your typical, speaker outs and line outs, but they actually have a dedicated slave out and slave in.
Now, what's the
So,
difference between an effects loop and a
oh,
slave
because they had
input?
an effects loop as well. So what this did was it was like a buffered, boosted set of inputs and outputs. So you could run one head, plug into the one head, and that preamp would be sent to all the power amps of the other heads that were in the wall of stuff
Okay.
without any signal loss.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was cool.
Yeah, even when we played, well, smaller places to still hold 500 people, I'd still stack my 412s because they look
Yeah.
sexy as, well, you know what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And I just wouldn't plug in the bottom cabinet. So the top ones hit me in the back of the head, which was great. Oh, I don't know. You're on stage, Jakey Lee, they just turn them up to fucking 10. Most people can't get them to 1. And why? You're not,
Well, and
What?
here's the thing, and tube amps on the whole, in general, I'm going to make a sweeping statement here. Tube amps in general are not what they used to be. So if you're comparing a 100-watt Marshall made in the last 10, 15 years, it is nowhere near as loud as a late 60s 100-watt Plexi. Nowhere near. Because they are aware of the fact that components are not the same quality, tubes are not the same quality, so they set them up to run slightly cooler than
yeah.
they could. And therefore, the actual full-on, like, punch you in the ribs RMS power is not the same. Now, with my Laney, it's basically a Marshall 800, but over-engineered with a couple of extra little features. So if you look at the circuits, they're really similar between like a Master Volume 800 and my Laney. But what you'll see is where the circuit in the Marshall is a 1/4 watt component, and it has a 1/4 watt component. The same part of the circuit in the Laney has got a 1/2 watt component. So it's like it's cruising.
Yeah.
And consequently, and they have really good transformers in them. So what you actually get is a 50-watt amp that is actually producing the same sort of true power that they used to back in the day. And I've lent my 50-watt amp to many players over the years, and the one thing they come back with when they bring it back is like, are you sure this is only a 50? Because when I was running it like for rehearsals back in England, I had an SLX 100 Marshall,
Yeah.
and I would run like not mic'd up, just a single cab in a big warehouse where we rehearsed. I would run the Laney, quote unquote 50 watts, and I would run that maybe with a master volume on 2, maybe, and it would be more than enough to keep up with the drummer and everything. To be the same volume in the Marshall, I had to have it on 8. So the difference in the quality of the transformers and, what they set the bias circuits up for and that sort of thing.
I wanted to go ahead.
Yeah. So, and having owned older, 100-watt and 50-watt amps from like the late 60s, early 70s, they were way louder than the modern ones. Way louder.
I was going to ask, see if Mark Usansky a friend, kind of a friend of mine, YouTube friend of mine, maybe Dave Friedman, but I don't think he would give me an honest answer. I don't think. And this question may be, no, it doesn't make a difference, and here's why. You take like all his Friedman amps that have the 100-watt transformers in them, and then you put them in, say, an amp of his that only has 50 watts. Is there a difference between a 100-watt transformer and a 50-watt transformer? And would it make that much difference when you're slamming the thing like an 8?
Like literally transplanting a 100-watt transformer into a 50-watt amp?
Yeah, does he put the same transformers in a 100-watt than he does a 50-watt?
I mean, as I understand it, what you can have is you can have a transformer that is basically the same but with different taps on it. So they wire it up differently for 50 watts.
Oh, okay.
For 100 watts.
Okay.
Yeah, and if anybody can tell me I'm wrong, this is, I mean, I'm fully up to speed with everything to do with instruments. When it comes to electronics, I have to tend to look stuff up. I'm not, it's not my zone kind of thing. So I have to consult reference books and stuff. But, so in the same way as, like, you know, if you run a 100-watt head as a 50 by pulling 2 of the power tubes, you have to set the speaker impedance differently and that sort of thing, because you're only using a portion of the transformer.
Really? So
Yes.
your what's the word? Ohmage
Yes.
changes?
Yep.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Well, wouldn't you want to? You'd have to set your ohms in the amp if you did that permanently, right? If you have like the I don't know if that helps or not, but you had the points where you can put your meter in to adjust the bias and.
Yeah, that's nothing to do with your ohmage. That's to do with bias. So the ohmage
right. I'm
is
sorry.
selectable.
4, 8,
externally.
16.
Yeah.
Okay. I went to public school. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had to have my Blue Voodoo reset inside because it was 8 and 16 and my cabinets were 8 and 4. So I had to, but the guy was like, dude, I just moved 2 wires and we're good.
Yep. And again, that comes down to the idea that the transformers have multiple, wiring options. They have different taps available. Kind of.
And all the crate cabinets were 16 ohms.
Yep.
But my boogies the guy ordered them with, by the way, it's the guy who rubbed his buttocks on my Hyundai.
Oh, good.
He had them ordered with 2 vintage 30s and 2 whatever stock speaker boogie had. But they were, I could usually lift a 412 on top of each other. No.
My favorite boogie cabs are the halfback ones. They're slightly smaller 412 and the top is open.
Right.
And I had a fairly old one of those. I mean, I had it back in England, and it had the 90-watt.
I think it's
Black Shadows.
Black Shadows. Yeah.
But it had 25-watt piles in the closed bottom bit, and that combination was deadly. It was a fantastic sounding cab, and I tend to not like boogie cabs. I don't like them most of the time. So, that halfback was a great, and it was nice because it was small. You could fit it in places, kind of thing.
You know what I used for, and this is just, I'm pointing for emphasis. I got tired of having a boom stand to mic and I just mic one of the greenbacks, right? You're going to knock it over, blah, blah, blah. I screwed a piece on where I could like put a gooseneck on, and it just wouldn't fucking hold. The LP drum claw.
Okay.
You mount that, and the boogie had the rails on the side. I clamped that on. That thing wouldn't fucking move. That was the best invention for miking. Now I don't know about like Marshall cabs that are just the Tolex, and it should hold, but man, that's the best thing I ever got for miking cabs.
All right. You can't see it. Let me turn a flashlight over here and see if it lights up or not. Hang on 2 seconds.
I don't know how to turn the flashlight on my phone.
Okay, so can you see that little bit of orange? Just
Oh
next to
yeah,
that
the cabinet.
yellow guitar. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a cab.
that's a mid-60s Marshall 412.
Why it's an orange? Oh, did you get an orange Tolex?
I picked it up in the very early 90s in London. And it was missing its back panel. And I got it for £50.
Shit.
And obviously with the back missing, there was no serial number, blah, blah, blah. So I literally called Marshall. And because I wanted to, it was missing the little logo. It's got the small gold logo. And so I called, and the woman said, well, yeah, we really need the serial number, because this is pre-internet day, so you had to have the serial number in order to buy a logo, whereas now you just order them on Temu or whatever, right?
Right.
And so I said, well, yeah, it doesn't have a panel, but I mean, I have it right in front of me. Is there somebody I could talk to who could maybe, I could describe what the inside looks like or whatever, and they could tell me if it's like the real deal kind of thing? And so she's like, oh, yeah, hang on. So next thing, guy comes on. He's like, he starts asking me questions like, okay, so how are the corners joined? How's this? Do you?
Well,
see
this doesn't happen nowadays. I'll tell you
no,
that.
no. So and what do you see any pencil or pen markings in it? What does it
Right.
say anything?
Right.
What have you got? So, yeah, and the orange, like you said, well, for a start, we didn't introduce the orange Tolex until '72. So clearly, it's been recovered at some point. He said, but no, this is a 1964 or 65 cab. Would originally have been a pinstripe cab kind of thing. Definitely one of ours, and yes, we'll sell you a logo.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I saw a story on, Marshall was the big thing, and Orange was coming out. They're like, we need a 412. They're like, okay, make 4. Put same speakers as Marshall, blah, blah, blah. And they A-B'd it beside the Marshall 412. And the Marshall 412 was so much louder, and they couldn't understand why.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was just maybe the Baltic birch that Marshall used. They used whatever used wood they used, and they did the same, reverse engineered it.
You saying that there's tone woods in cabs?
There's a volume wood in cab.
Yeah, I mean, all I did for that cab was I went to, like a nice wood supply place and got the interesting thing about that cab is it's really light. Like it's about a 1/2 inch thickness all the way around. So yeah, that was one of the features that when I described it, they're like, oh yeah, that's right, yeah. So all I did was I went to a really nice wood yard and got just a square of 1/2 inch thick, really nice quality Baltic birch, like no voids in it, that kind of thing.
Right.
And it to this day, it's still just got a raw wood back panel.
Yeah.
But it sounds amazing, So
Now,
I've run that with my 50-watt Laney for, most gigs that I've done since the February of '95.
here's another tone wood question.
Yes.
Front-mounted speakers or rear-mounted speakers? Now, Eddie Van Halen, his cabinets were rear-mounted. My boogies were front-mounted because the back didn't come off.
Yeah. I think as long as they're screwed to the appropriate tightness and have a gasket, I don't think it makes any difference which way round it is.
Yeah, I never got the... but it's like arguing with Eric Johnson, It's like, I much prefer rear-mounted. Fuck.
I wonder if it's more to do with the fact that he prefers the type of cabs that are typically rear-mounted. Do you know what I mean? Because you don't typically find a front-mounted Marshall cab.
Right.
So maybe that's more what it's to do with. He likes the sound of that style of cab, not so much that the speaker is front-mounted or back.
I mean, I could see if there's, front-mounted, like you said, no gasket, and they're flopping around, or big air gaps or something. I can see that, but...
And obviously that would be a problem if it was rear-mounted too, if it wasn't properly sealed or loose or whatever.
And Ed had an issue with his cabinets because he uses... they didn't have speak on back then, I don't think. XLR. He wires speaker cable through the XLR because they lock in.
Yep.
And Peavy was like, Ed, no consumer uses fucking X. So we get them, and they got an XLR input and a parallel 1/4 inch input. Because he said, They shipped out. We had the original 5150 combos.
Right.
We had like, one on the floor and two in boxes. He wanted to change something. We had to send him back.
Right.
Like, whoa. Okay, Ed.
Yep. Thanks, buddy.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks for the shipping charge there, Ed.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's really cheap to send 412s and heavy tube combos around.
A 212 tube combo? Yeah.
Yeah.
The cool thing about Peavey was I could take out, like if it was a 212 combo, I could just pull the chassis out, put it in the box and send it back. They'd fix it, send it back to me. It's like, why do I got to ship the 212,
Yeah, the only combo that I've encountered that was as heavy, in stock trim, as heavy, as a 212 compared to the 5150 was the Gens-Benz Diablo 100.
I remember those things.
Because that was the same thing. Because the thing with the 5150 was it was a closed 2x12
Yeah.
with a head on top of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't like your typical Marshall or Fender where the chassis was kind of in the speaker cabinet.
And then open back. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was so those combos had more wood in them, and they were like 8 inches taller than your typical 2x12 combo. And
then they put a handle on top. Why?
yeah, 'cause
Why?
you just run around with one hand. Yeah.
Yeah, my Fender Super.
The worst thing I had to move was one of my customers had put a Fender Dual Showman head, which is a twin.
Yeah.
He put it into a twin cabinet, but then put a pair of the 300 watt EVs in it.
Oh, with the fucking magnet.
Oh yeah, like the size of a car tire. Kind
Yeah.
of thing. That thing weighed 120 pounds.
My Fender Super Twin, it had to be 95 pounds.
Yep.
I
Yeah. Well, I went to pick it up and carry it up a flight of steps, and I had just gotten over tennis elbow, and as I picked the thing up, I felt that start to go, and I just put it
Let
down,
go.
and I looked at the next big strapping lad that came in and went, "Can you do me a favor and carry that up the stairs?" And he was like, "Yeah, I suppose so." But yeah,
I remember riding my 10-speed guitar lesson
yeah,
with my Gibson Explorer
there you go.
in that case. As long as I could get going and get it over, I could ride no hands really good, right?
Yep.
God forbid I should,
long
need
as
to
it wasn't
grab
a-
something,
I was
right?
gonna say, what about a side wind? Yeah,
never thinking I could borrow pretty much any guitar in the store to take my lessons on. I didn't know any better. It's like,
Yeah. Exactly. It's all good fun, right? So
yeah, somebody makes you carry a Gens-Benz. Yeah, we sold those things too at the first shop I worked at.
I liked them. I thought they were a pretty decent amp, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just didn't get.
But
people
again,
to-
they were just. To me, it was like they came out at the time that people were like getting into the idea of like, no, I actually want to be able to carry this up the stairs on my own,
Right.
kind of thing. And yeah, the big stuff was becoming less popular.
and who else?
Not popular because that's a Tonewood. We don't want to talk about Tonewood.
It wasn't. Maybe it was. No, was it Fryette? They came out with the cabs for like 7-string guitar players. They had 212s and like 215s or something.
A few people did. Rivera did. They had the knucklehead.
It was Rivera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had like the sub. It was like, I think it was only a 2x12, wasn't it? But it was
I
like
thought it was a 15.
But it was a powered like sub cabinet
Yeah.
that went under the 4x12.
Right. Yeah.
Crate had those 2x15s in the Blue Voodoo cabs. Do you remember those?
No, I remember they had a 400 watt all tube. Voodoo.
Yeah, because it was an SVT, so it was 350 watts.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it was the SVT power stage with a Blue Voodoo front end.
You're run 8 412s. Okay.
Well, we had that rig. We had that
Oh.
350 watt head, and we had a pair of the 412s with a pair of the 2x15s as a double stack off of it. Those 15s were dangerous. Like they were spleen liquefyingly dangerous. Like
Wow.
you stood in front of it and you didn't hear those frequencies, you felt them.
Yeah.
It was really, really weird. Lovely, but weird.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the loudest thing I've ever experienced was one of the times I was working with Nickelback. They were doing the bass tracks, and Mike was running, I think it was 1972 SVT and matching cab, and like a 1995 SVT and matching cab.
Are these 810s?
Oh yeah, yeah, the full thing. And so the 72, like, it sounded nasty. Like it broke up, it overdrew, like it really did overdrive. Whereas the 90s one was cleaner, kind of thing. He tracked with those things pinned.
Wow.
And
Wow.
like, the whole studio building was just vibrating. And I said, I really want to go in there. Can I go in there for just like 10 seconds kind of thing? And it was like, oh my God. Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah.
We played with that one band, not Flock of Seagull, but I won't even mention the other band. But we're standing outside the stage door waiting for them to get gear off. They're roadies, right? Get their gear off and, get our shit in. One guy's fucking just manhandling this fucking 810 SVT, right? And mans it into a fucking road case and puts the door on, goes back in, comes back out with another one, fucking manhand. I'm like, holy shit.
Well, they do have wheels. They're kind of like a.
Yeah. It's like a refrigerator that the guy, and then the case is standing up, so he's got to get it in the case. It's like, fuck.
I had a pair of Marshall 8x10 cabs, guitar cabs.
810s? I didn't even know they made those.
Well, they did them in the vintage era, and they're really cool. And there's a somewhat famous band in England called Zodiac Mind Warp and the Love Reaction. And
that's a better name than Johnny Heartbreaker and the Love Reaction.
I know, right? I didn't want to mention it, but I have now. So I managed to score a couple of them, and they look kind of good in my living room.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
gear and more gear. The first, the Super Twin had the distortion knob on it, which really just sounded like you took a knife to your speaker. I'm like, this doesn't sound like AC/DC or Ted Nugent.
Well, that's the thing. So regular Twins had the master volume in 1974? That was the only year they did it, I think. Because it didn't sound that great. Simple as that,
So I wound up getting, and remember, I'm 14, 15, I don't know anything. But I got a LPB1 linear power boost.
Linear power booster by Electro Harmonics.
That was one of the first. I think that was the first pedal they made.
I don't know. No, maybe the first version of the Big Muff was maybe before that. Maybe, I don't know. I'd have to look that.
Well, I got that thing.
I'm sure there's a JHS video. That explains it. Yeah.
But I liked it. I mean, it helped the amp. But it wasn't until I actually got it 15. I got a Big Muff. And then I became the guitar playing god that we all know, love today.
That's why you're so good.
And I remember that thing. You know how they say that violin sustain? I don't think I've heard it out of any Big Muff pedal that's come out in 30 years. I don't care if it's the Big Muff, the Russian Big Muff, their original Big Muff pie. I don't know. They just all sound
I'm gonna have
fuzzy.
to send you one of my fuzzes. I'm gonna have to.
Uh-oh.
I've got one almost built. I should finish it off and send it to you. Because what I did was I have a pedal called the Fuzzy Muff that I did.
Yeah.
And it's a fuzz face, and obviously fuzz faces don't normally have an EQ circuit. So it's called the Fuzzy Muff because I took the tone circuit of the Big Muff. Put it into the fuzz face circuit. So it's a fuzzy muff. And then it's I've put two pedals in one. So it's it's my fuzzy muff circuit, and then on the input is an LPB1 circuit. So you can boost it.
Oh, no way. Yeah.
Yeah, in the same pedal. And on this one I'm just working out how to just use a little toggle switch and be able to change the order of the pedals. So you, because realistically, you don't typically want to boost in front of a fuzz pedal because it's not the greatest tone, but it's sometimes it's useful depending on your gain.
Sure.
So normally it would be fuzz into the booster, so the booster would be on the output of the fuzz. But if I'm going to put a little toggle switch, they'll actually switch them around.
Yeah.
So you can do some fun stuff.
The loudest recording of it?
Well, I mean, undoubtedly, some of the live albums would be the loudest.
But, you know, it's loud on stage, but then it's hitting the every recording.
Yeah.
Nobody's been able to answer this question.
What's the question?
Back in the old days, I remember seeing, like, even early Black Sabbath,
Right.
they're singing through two different microphones that are, like, taped together. Is
Yeah,
that one for left and right, or one for mains and monitors?
From what I understand, same reason as you see old like news reports with people having 4 or 5 microphones taped together at the podium, is that the audio equipment just wasn't good enough, so they had to use multiple systems.
Ah.
Yeah. So in order to like increase the output of your PA, run 2 PAs,
Right.
and so there would be 2 microphones.
They didn't have splitter cable?
It was pretty fucking basic back
It
then.
was real
Yeah.
basic, man.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I mean, and that's the difference now. You know, you could play a stadium with a, you know, fuck my Blues Junior right there.
Right.
Play
Yeah.
a stadium with that because they'll just mic it up, and they've got such amazing PAs now that you don't need the huge backline.
Yeah, my first concert was Foghat and the Outlaws, right? Mm-hmm. That was back when it was, first of all, general admission, just no
Right.
no seats on the floor,
Yep.
you know.
GA, baby, GA.
Yeah, and all the PA was, you know, on the floor, and then just stacked up, and it was like,
Yep.
God, it was so loud. It was
Yep.
like, oh my
There'd
God.
always be a stoner standing there with his head shoved in a reflex bin.
Oh, and everybody's, I'm like, you know, I was like 13, or I'm like, what is that smell?
Yep.
It smells kind of weird.
Yep. So, anyway,
Yeah.
I only wanted to come in and tell you were too loud.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna get off here anyway because
Well,
I
yeah,
don't know how
we're
much
54
time I
minutes.
have. I
Look at
don't know
that.
how much time I have left in here.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And on StreamYard.
There's Ken. Ken comes in just as we're getting ready to
Yeah.
go.
He waits. I think he sits there. As soon as they say they're going to wrap up, I'll say hi.
Late tears are falling back in track. Ah, because of,
Is that a Kiss song?
I guess.
I don't know.
All right, kids, we're out of here. Hope you enjoyed this.
Yeah.
We're
Nice
gonna
band.
monetize it.
Yeah. Why not?